Hi, everyone. We are going to start in just one more minute. Okay, so good morning or good evening, wherever you are in the world now. Welcome to today's session on accessibility from code to community, how to build an inclusive world. Today's session is presented for the Reactor community. And for those of you who don't know, the Reactor are community hubs where technology professionals meet to learn and to connect. We offer a diverse mix of hands-on workshop, panel discussion, and community events in all of our 12 reactors globally. As our space is currently closed due to COVID, we focus more on online events such as today's meetup. Before we start, just wanted to let you know that the session will be recorded. The recording will be available to you on the Reactor YouTube channel, which I will be sharing at the meetup page later on. You can also access the link while you use the same URL, the same link for today's event. You will be able to see the recording there. If you have any issues with that, please contact us via meetup. You're also welcome to ask any question that you have during the session in the Q&A section. So you should see it on your screen, and please feel free to ask our speakers any question and they will be happy to answer through the session or at the end of their presentation. It's also a great opportunity to remind you that we really appreciate your feedback, and we are going to share a short survey with you. It will take you about 1 or 2 minutes to complete. So I'm going to share the link in the chat box soon. It will be great if you can take a minute at the end of this session to complete your feedback. You just need to enter the event code, which I will be sharing there too. I think that's all for now. I'm going to pass it on to Adi now. She will be moderating today's session. And yeah, so Adi, over to you.
Thank you, Moria. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining from all around the world. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you are safe and healthy in your homes or wherever you are watching this. My name is Adi Stein, and I'm working at Microsoft as a Developer Relations Program Manager for the Middle East and Africa. And I'm really excited about this session today. We have two amazing speakers, Rory Preddy and Rebecca Brinza. Rory is a developer advocate for Java at Microsoft and a passionate accessibility advocate. Rebecca is a communication director at Tikkun Olam Makers community. Rory and Rebecca will spend the next hour talking about the best practices, tools to program for accessibility, and share examples. And then we will open the session for Q&A. So as Moria said, feel free to share your questions in the chat window. I think that we can get started. So Rory, the virtual stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to send live, and this is the kind of dance we do nowadays. And I'm going to then play from current slide, and I'm looking for my current moderators. If there's any problems, then we can actually look at making sure that I'm doing a good job. So who am I? I'm a cloud advocate for Microsoft and an accessibility advocate. And this talk, I've been doing it in and around the world and trying to empower everyone to look at accessibility as something other than an after effect. And this is really the theme of the talk, it's not looking at accessibility as an after effect. And this is a nice little picture that really kind of sums it up. This is my car, my early midlife crisis, my 335i. If you want to know what to do in a midlife crisis, don't buy a car. And you can see there, I've got car pedals on because I have a dwarfism, achondroplasia. And so I'm pretty short. I'm 4'1", 50 kilos. And I've got these car pedals, and I bolt the car pedals on as a means to be able to drive my car. And it's really been a theme in my life. You can see here I've got bolt on. Here's me trying to do a lecture at a university, and here's me trying to get coffee at someplace else before COVID, and I'll do anything. And you can see there it says Ethiopian decaf, but I do not touch decaf. It's absolute poison. And with the advent of the digital disruption and the cloud revolution, I started to feel a little bit left out. I started to feel a little bit like you can see that there's a joker missing here because we don't mention the joker that Leno's joker, because at the end of the day I didn't want to bolt on my life for accessibility. I wanted to enable people to be able to see it as different. So what I did is that I gave myself a challenge that I was going to speak on accessibility and empower people to be able to do that. And I really kind of went back in time to look at other people who had done similar. And one of the things I did notice is that in 2004, we had the Agile Manifesto, and that did something similar, because that actually looked at software engineering and tried to change software engineering from a really stale and rigid process into something more agile, to be able to cater for dramatic change in software. So I thought, let me take this as inspiration and see how I can use this to drive accessibility awareness. So let's look at the Agile Manifesto. So the Agile Manifesto, software for software development. We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others to do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. That is, whereas there's a value in the items on the right, we value on the items on the left more. Basically, they were trying to bring humanity back into agile software development and tell people that they understood software. And I feel that this is very similar with accessibility, that the people who understand accessibility are trying to engage with the broad software development community and not do a bolt-on. Because what happened also with agile development is that we had a knee-jerk reaction of people to say, okay, agile, first thing we're going to do, we're going to create open offices. And you can see here with open offices, they bolted on those open offices. And here we have a fish tank in the middle of an open office. And open offices have been proven to be very distracting. Can you imagine how hard it is to actually go in and clean that fish tank there? And they kind of lost the plot there, because also we learned how to clean whiteboards, these magnificent multi-featured whiteboards that also had all these sticky notes, and we learned how to stick post-it notes. I've been on 3 courses that taught me how to do sticky notes in agile courses. You hold the note there, you take your fingers, and you gently kind of scrape the notes to make sure that you don't disrupt any of the glue, because there's little glue capsules there. And then I thought to myself, this is not what Agile was trying to do. Agile was trying to show that how software developers are able to do software without distractions. And this is exactly why I wanted to focus on Agile with accessibility. So what went wrong, and what happened in what went wrong is that we encountered the Hydra again. So
Ollie,
what is the... Yes.
Can you please just change to full screen presentation? We can see the presenter mode.
Ah, okay, Good to know. Good to know. Let's go use slideshow. Yeah, that would
Amazing.
share all my secrets, and I don't want to share my secrets with you guys. I want to give it a little bit of a pizzazz and a little bit of mystery. Okay, so we've got the Hydra. Now, the Hydra is a ancient Greek mythological beast that basically every time you chop a head off of the Hydra, another one grows. And Agile was created to be able to take away the bug Hydra. So you would chop a bug off, and then Agile would say we can react quickly. And it's the same with accessibility. Because with the Hydra, you get the accessibility Hydra. Now, what happens with the accessibility Hydra is that when you chop off an accessibility issue, another accessibility issue grows up from it. And as a result, you constantly have this bolt-on effect and the after effect of trying to cater for accessibility. And this talk really is how to cater and how to defeat the Hydra without having to, lose that agile, agility. So let's start also on how to do that. First, we need to look at aligned autonomy. Really good process that was created by David H. Pink, and it basically says that you need to take your organization roles, teams, cadence, and architecture and align it to your plan and practices to give developers three things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So autonomy, the ability to act alone and not require and be reliant on external factors. Mastery, developers, people who program accessibility also understand exactly what they want to achieve, and they want to be the best at what they're trying to do. And then purpose. If you've ever seen someone who is great at their talent and their craft, they feel purpose and alignment. So alignment with autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So aligned autonomy. And with that, when you have those three things, you also get something. It's a Japanese idiom called ikigai. With ikigai, you have the overlap with what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you get paid for. And what happens is there with ikigai, with autonomy, mastery, and purpose, with agile, you get the ability to fulfill not only your purpose, but the broad purpose that the world is looking for. So let's just remember ikigai, autonomy and mastery and purpose. And then let's also look at some of the problems that we might encounter by trying to achieve that. So the first thing is empathy. Now, what the world needs, what you get paid for, what you're good at, what you love, is also important, because what the world needs, you need to be empathetic on what the world needs. We know that the Hydra is waiting in the background to get those bugs. We also know that we have that agile process that can make sure that we are reacting to change. But we need empathy. You can see here, here's Rick and Morty. Rick's really not being empathetic to Morty, because in truth, all of us are living in a empathy kind of vacuum, and I'm going to go through that. And I'm not meaning to actually say that we don't understand to be empathetic to achieve ikigai, but we all come from backgrounds where we are not really living the lives of other individuals who are experiencing the software and the development that we actually go in on a daily basis and develop for. Because we all have distractions. We have side projects, we have families, we have friends, and we have all of these distractions that take us away from the need and the ikigai to fulfill that purpose. And then what happens is that ikigai becomes a mishmash, because instead of saying, hey everyone, I want to solve these accessibility hydras, please put your hands up if you want to help. The only people who put their hands up are bank robbers, preachers, DJs, cops, and roller coasters. And as a result, we create something called an empathy bubble. And it's not deliberate. It's just the nature of what we're doing. You can see these two individuals, they can't live in the same bubble as each other because it's physically not possible. You can't live in my shoes and I can't you. And this talk is all about how we can process that information and be able to code in an agile way without having to burst the bubble immediately and cater for that hard drive. Because without that bubble being burst, we fail. And we fail looking at accessibility requirements because we don't understand the hurdles that people experience. You can see here's a failure that you see because someone tried to create a wheelchair ramp and they didn't understand that the last 3 steps were actually incredibly difficult. Now, I had a back operation about 10 years ago, and I remember I had a little crutch that I had, and I encountered a curb step, and the curb step was literally an inch high, and I couldn't really overcome it then. And it was a milestone for me because it occurred to me that if I couldn't, with the crutch, overcome this, then how much more difficult it would be for someone in a wheelchair. So let's look how we can break that empathy bubble and solve and slay that hard drive. So we've got a plan. The plan, first of all, understand your organization's unique milestones. We're going to look at stick and carrot to see how you can look at your organization's legislative and also altruistic intentions to look at the motivators. We're going to set achievable interim milestones using an agile process. We're going to implement the tools and processes necessary to get that done with your programming in DevOps, accessibility pipelines. We're going to measure, improve, and automate. So let's get started. First, let's define accessibility. You can see here, this is not an accessible wheelchair ramp. So I need to define what accessibility is. And a lot of people get it wrong. Because we define at Microsoft, accessibility is the design of products, services, and environments so that everyone, including people with disability, can fully experience them. Notice we did not say bolt on. Because when you design in the beginning of your design process for accessibility, what happens is that it leads to innovation. And at the end of this talk, we'll come back to that because I'm a strong believer that when you do inclusive product and design, it leads to accessibility compliance, improved productivity, and innovation. Because you'll see in the use cases that we give, once you start to stop thinking about accessibility as a bolt-on, it becomes a milestone and it becomes really a feature. And to sum up some of the, the classic memes that I like to send on my Twitter account, it's not a bug, it's a feature, and it becomes a feature. So let's look at also, now we've defined accessibility, let's define disability. And I like to use the example for my son. So my son also has achondroplasia dwarfism, and I said to him, when do you feel disabled? And he said, only really when people don't cater for me. And that's really what Microsoft considers a disability, because a disability is not a personal health condition. You don't go to a doctor and say to the doctor, I'm not feeling too good, and he goes, I think you have the disability. The only time that you feel disabled is if you don't actually have the ability to interact with the software or systems that you're engaging with. So, for example, as part of my midlife crisis, I've tried to lose a little bit of weight, and I bought one of those BMI scales. And I jumped on the BMI scale and I entered my height, 4'1" or 120 centimeters, and my weight at the time it was 65 kilos. Yes, I know I've lost quite a lot. And then there was this little button there to say child or adult, and I thought, ooh, this is not going to end well. So I selected the adult and I put in my details, and it said, oh, and it called me names. This actual scale called me names, and I thought to myself, how is this possible that someone goes through that design process? And I felt disabled, because the problem is that the scale hadn't catered for my accessibility requirements, and I at that time felt that that was because I had mismatched human interactions with the products that they were designing. So how do we not actually design products for that, and introducing the WCAG, so the Web Center for Accessibility Guidelines, and it has compliance levels and principles. So we're going to go through the principles and the compliance levels. We're going to look at how we can design software that and test software that make sure that we are accessible. So first of all, level A deals with most basic web accessibility features. For example, creating alternative tags on images. Level AA signifies the biggest and most common barriers for disabled users, captions on videos. And then level AAA addresses the highest and most complex level of web accessibility. For example, having a sign language interpreter. We also have principles. So we have perceivable, can you see it? So for example, being able to have an alt image on a website. Operable, can you use it? Being able to take your keyboard and navigate your website with without having to use your mouse. Understandable, can you understand it? So people who have learning difficulties, ADHD and autism, so being able to create the principle so you can understand it. And then finally, robust, it won't break future technologies. Being able to have your responsive site in landscape or portrait and not breaking the website. So those are the principles and the standards. So let's see exactly how you can approach these and use your motivators. Now, motivators are come in two forms, stick and carrot. So the first one is stick. And we have the US Century Integrated Digital Experience Act from America and the EU Parliament Directive on Digital Accessibility that says that by 2021, all publicly facing civil websites will be WCAG 2.1 AA compliant, or you'll get, like Canada has started to fine people, $100,000 fine per day. And what we've seen that these legislative requirements, similar to GDPR, remember what happened with GDPR, really come as a bolt-on after the fact without, hindsight of what to do. And this is really creating a huge panic in the development software community, because now they go, oh, I have to do this quickly. And what they don't really think in the beginning is, what about the carrot? What about improving it for the people who actually use your product? And this is really summed up with a quote by Bill Gates. For most of human history, we put our innovative capacity into improving the quantity of life. More. Because we're living longer, our focus is starting to shift towards the quality of life. We're doing more for more people because we care to do that. Carrot, being able to look at accessibility, not from the legislative point of view, but rather from a altruism and the right thing to do. Because with altruism, we create a awareness of other people's difficulties. We go from pity to sympathy to empathy to compassion. And how you do this and you create the ikigai and you shatter the bubbles, that you use something called Empathy Labs. One of our partners, this is DQ Labs, drives empathy labs that you can actually sign up for. You can see here's an individual who is now taking their product and going and looking how people can engage with their product with motor disabilities. And you define these labs with the help of persona spectrum. So here's 3 sample persona spectrums, and we're going to go through a nice example also very soon. So we have Ron, 82-year-old, retired, multiple conditions, arthritis, losing his hearing, cataracts, hip replacement, doesn't use any assistive technology. But Ron is part of the silver generation, a generation that has lose eyesight. Now, we can cater for Ron, but we can also cater for visually impaired people. Now, if we cater for Ron and visually impaired people and our product, what we do is we create innovation, because we extend our products to many people, and we're going to look at how we can actually do that. So you can go and you can look at the accessibility personas. All these slides will be available at the end, and you can create those persona spectrums for your product set and see how each individual can respond to your software. So inclusive design steps, once we've got those persona spectrums, you need to recognize the exclusion, define your persona spectrums, solve for one extent to many. We saw how Ron, with visually impaired 82-year-old, can, if we catered for Ron, we could also cater for the silver generation and visually impaired people, and then learn from diversity by looking and adjusting our product suite to cater for that. Let's take an example. I've got a amputee, so someone with one arm, and it's the same spectrum as someone with an arm injury, and then a new parent. And I know what you say, but a new parent is not actually required accessibility. I promise you, I've been a parent. You're financially, mentally, physically, spiritually exhausted, and you only have one arm really to perform a lot of actions. So if you go to your manager right now and you say, I want to cater for the person with one arm and design and bolt on and just code for them, he'll say, but you know, in America, the US statistics say there's only 26,000 people who are in amputee, but the arm injury, temporary disability, 13 million. Situational disability or accessibility requirements, an additional 8 million. That means 21 million people on that persona spectrum. Solve for one, extend to many. So by catering for people without, both use of their arms, we actually cater for 21 million people. And this is really the idea behind innovation, because right now there's 1 billion people who have accessibility requirements, all the way from cognitive to physical to eyesight. And when you take their friends and family who are heavily invested, you get more than 3 billion people who have a heavy investment in accessibility. That's half the world. Not catering for accessibility is excluding half the world's requirements for accessibility. Let's take our persona spectrums and apply it to a ticketing scenario to buy a ticket online for an air flight. Not the best example in the COVID climate, but this worked when I did the previous presentation. So we've got our persona spectrums, the one arm, new parent, and arm injury, and now we can really superimpose it on the registration, navigation, and checkout process, and a basic process now becomes innovative. We have responsive design, we have captures for registration, accessibility help desk, login, single sign-on, callback help, one button access, voice search, checkout, SMS and email, one button access, and then right at the end we have AI adjustment, because we learn from a diversity. Because the last thing that you want to do when you're screaming at Siri or Cortana or an AI that is online or doing that is for it to not understand your accessibility requirements. Now, what I've done in previous talks is I've shown you how to build in emotional intelligence into artificial intelligence. You can look on YouTube and search for my talk where I show you how to teach an AI sarcasm. Because people with accessibility, when they start shouting at their laptop, it means that they're in distress. And the AI should be able to accommodate that and say, did this work for you? Take a survey, listen to Cortana, Siri, or Bixby, and adjust the behavior there to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Learn from diversity. So in summary, the empathy transformation practices: create a central team to manage the transformation, execute an empathy program to drive motivation. Those are those labs, those empathy labs. Make high quality learning resources available and integrate them onto onboarding. Form a team of accessibility coaches to coach agile teams. Create an accessibility dashboard to measure progress. Remember what I said to you: measure and adjust. So let's look at, we looked at motivators, let's look at milestones. How to actually do this with your software from today. So bolt on the Hydra, and we can see here we have a normal agile process, Scrum and the sprints and sprint backlogs. And right at the end of it, we've got our accessibility bolt on saying, okay, let's go test accessibility. Yeah, it's not accessible, nothing we can do. And we want to change that because we want to do the, and part of the shift left revolution. If you ever want to hear a nice little buzzword now, it's called shift left. And we take all of the traditional large investment at the end and we shift left, actually your left, to, instead of a large investment at the end of the release, a small investment in testing, coding, design, and backlog to make sure that we can catch the hydra before it actually rears its ugly head and we get those accessibility bugs. And then you can see how the agile process changes. We test for accessibility across the entire process, and we do this with tools that Microsoft has made available open source with our partners that you can start using right now. So the first tool is unit testing. So being able to test in the beginning and introducing the Xcore unit tests. So Xcore is a JavaScript library or NPM package. You can run it from any of the packages. It scans a rendered DOM, so HTML or your web app or even Android. It reports back as JSON, and it uses the same engine as Accessibility Insights. So Accessibility Insights is the main testing tool. We're going to give a nice demo now that Microsoft uses, and everything that goes online for us, we test with accessibility. Microsoft, www.microsoft.com, Office, Azure, we all test for accessibility. So what Xcore does, and it's built by our partner DQ Labs, we've got the developer and Azure DevOps pipeline. It does the tests there on your TypeScript or your HTML, and then it reports back with your test engine on your page, and you can actually see exactly what it does. And this is at the beginning of the testing process, using your unit tests before it actually gets over to the final stages. Don't worry, I'm going to give a demo of how this actually works. And this is what it looks like in Azure DevOps. And you can access it on github.com, Microsoft X pipeline samples, and it's got some nice examples that we are going to run through now. This is the test results. So let's do the demo because we're developers and we want to get our hands dirty with code. So the first demo I'm going to do is I'm going to show you Accessibility Insights.io, the Chrome and Edge plugin that allows you to kind of test on bolt-on, because I want to show you exactly what it does before we get into DevOps. So I'm going to exit out of my PowerPoint, and I've got my little, I can use it in Chrome or Edge. I know a lot of people are saying, but Rory, you remember Microsoft. What about you using Edge? Well, I use both. And then we've got a nice little site here called the Accessible Before and After Demonstration by the W3 org. And I've got an inaccessible and accessible page. And you can see here the differences between the two are very minor and slight. You can't even really see. But to someone who's using a screen reader or accessibility software, it's huge because this doesn't have an alt tag. And this over here, this HTML, if I go here and I go inspect, it's not actually proper HTML, it's just BR tags there that they're using to really hack the system. And we want to check the accessible or inaccessible. So if I go to accessible and I run my little Accessibility Insights.io, it's a Chrome plugin here, totally free. And then I can choose FastPass assessment or ad hoc tools. So we're going to do FastPass, which caters for majority of the accessibility issues up front. You can also do assessment, which is a very long, very detailed assessment plan, but we're not going to do that right now. So let's go into FastPass, and this is the page that works if you remember here. So I go FastPass, I shouldn't have any accessibility problems. Yay, no accessibility problems. And then I can go back in there. Now we're going to go to the inaccessible page. So it looks exactly the same. We're going to test it here with our accessibility FastPass, and we get issues. Color contrast is wrong. It doesn't have a language. The alt images, the labels are wrong. The link names are wrong. And if I move this here, I can see that it actually highlights all of the issues, and I can click on the issue there, and I can file that, or I can fix one of the issues there, and I can copy the failure, and I can inspect the HTML. And it goes as far as also being able to navigate with tab stops. I can go tab stops, and I can see that here it's not really tab stoppable, navigable. The accessible page here, if I access
we can't see the web page. We're seeing a black screen.
Wow, okay. Let's try that now again through Teams. It probably changed when I swapped over there. Thank you for the help. Let's go there, my desktop, and we want to go stop sharing. Thank you so much, Adi. And then we want to go share from code to community. There we go. Better, Adi?
Now I can see you on a full screen. Can't see it the web.
Okay, let's go add content from below, and we want to go share there.
Perfect. Now we can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Just minimize the...
Yeah, no, we don't want to show them our secrets. So this is our accessibility website, and then we want to show you again the FastPass. So you can go FastPass, and then it will show you your automated checks, the page that works. The page that doesn't work, you can go here and you can go FastPass, and it will show you your automated checks. You can also do tab stops for navigable, and you can see here it will show you all the tab stops. Let's go and do that again. So this is the core engine we use to test everything in Microsoft, but we want to do a bolt-on, sorry, not a bolt-on, we want to do this in DevOps. I know, how do you do this in DevOps? Well, we've got an actual project that you can define. So I've got it forked in my repo, and this is a nice little Java project, so I am a Java developer, and it really goes in and tests as a static page. I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code here, and I've got my little page here. I've got a static little page, and let's go there, resources, files. It basically just has a normal page there that it says this is a normal page, and I've got some tests here that I can run as part of a normal JUnit process. I can actually run this, and it starts up Chrome, and I'm not going to run it right now on my local PC, but it starts up Chrome, and you can run, and it uses the accessibility engine to test your page. Let's just look at some of the code here, because I know that as a developer we want to see the code. Analyze, so we can say should throw when WebDriver is nullable. No, we don't want to do that. Builder integration, run completed tests. Should not include null pointers. So it runs all of these extensive tests here. Should serialize only on run option, Builder, and we can run all these tests. You can see there here we've got the file, and it runs. I want to give you a nice little example. Should pass if excluded. So all of these nice extensive tests here, and it tests that page, and we can run and we can execute these standalone. Let me just show you quickly. Where's my test runner here? So I can actually run one of these tests here, and it starts up Chrome, the Chrome driver. Hopefully I've got it. I haven't actually loaded Chrome driver there. And but I want to run this now on Azure DevOps. So there's two ways that you can actually run this on your page. One is you can use GitHub Actions. So I've actually got GitHub Actions, and I did it this morning just to show you that I have done it there. So I've got GitHub Actions, and you can create your Maven GitHub Actions straight off there. I've got my one completed job here. But we're going to do a live demonstration, not using GitHub Actions. You can see there's build with Maven. We're going to create it with our pipelines from the beginning with Azure DevOps. So I've got my Azure DevOps, and I created it earlier, also called Tickon, but I'm going to call this here Tickon 2, and I'm going to say it's a public project. I'm going to just minimize that. Create. Now, this is Azure DevOps, and remember, Azure DevOps is free if you want to do one pipeline and a basic utilization. So it's going to create a new project, and I've got my pipelines. I'm going to create a pipeline here, and I'm going to go create pipeline. And I've got my little project here, and you can see I've actually forked my project off DQ Labs Xcore. And if you go to DQ Labs, they have a lot of other projects there that you can actually look at using. So we're going to take our little project that we know that we runs nicely on GitHub Actions. We're going to take that into here and say I've got a GitHub project. I've set it there, and I'm going to give it access. And now I'm going to say go run that Maven project inside the cloud. So new pipeline, and we're going to choose that project there. Maven, configure your pipeline. I'm going to just run normal Maven and get the surefire test results, and then click run. It's not that difficult. Yeah, I know. So we know that how we can test from the bolt-on with accessibilityinsights.io with the Chrome browser. We also now see that it's as easy to create a DevOps pipeline in Azure DevOps or Git GitHub Actions that can test all of this. And then you can actually create your dashboard. If you go to boards, and then you can go here, you can create your dashboards here. Let's go to overview dashboards, and you can go, let's go dashboards. So add a widget here, and we can go build history, because we're just doing a build right now. Configure widgets. Okay, close that. Done editing. And then we're going to say we want to build it off our little pipeline, that build pipeline that is currently still building, save, and no builds right now. But that when it does finish, what you'll get is, let's go to that little board there. You can create it quickly, and you can see the builds that start and finish. And this is what I ran yesterday. And this really is the hardware is gone, because now I can actually see did something fail at the beginning of my project without having to have that bolt on. So one is that you can use accessibility insights. Adi, just tell me if you can see my slides. If not, just holler. You can use accessibility insights. You can plug it into Azure DevOps. And that's really the sum of what I'm trying to do. You can also use something called Axe Matches to take all of your accessibility test cases and add them into business kind of syntax. So given then when's Gherkin syntax, given when I'm a visitor, when I visit that page, then test the whole page should be accessible or should fail. And you can put this into Excel, give it to your business, and they can drive really the test case scenario instead of you having to be the only one responsible. So you can go to DQ Labs, Axe Matches to actually look at how you can create it. You can also use pattern libraries, which are predefined components to make sure that you can code your app, Android or web app, without having to worry about inaccessible components. So in summary, team practices include users with disability and researchers. I am a staunch kind of advocate because I have an accessibility requirement, and as a result, I am really going to make sure that I do not introduce accessibility requirements. And you want to do that. You want to include users with disability in the research. Communicate the design intent and do that via your DevOps pipelines with your testing. Leverage a pattern library. Leverage an automated testing library like we've seen with DevOps. Automate your accessibility testing. Measure your progress. Have those dashboards. Show people that you care about your customers, the 3 billion people out there who have accessibility requirements. And then introduce accessibility in your retrospectives, in your agile process. And what happens when you do that, when your accessibility in retrospectives, you don't get the bolt on. Because the last thing we want to do is work towards a digital disruption, this golden age of accessibility requirements, and use the wrong tools. Because at the end of the day, bolt on can actually work, but like you see here in this example, it doesn't really have to be this difficult. So in conclusion, I've showed you how to create empathy with your empathy labs and pop that bubble and slay the Hydra. You can shift left with DevOps and accessibility insights.io. You can automate with your DevOps pipeline with GitHub Actions. And all of these slides you can access with http://aka.ms/for all. I'm going to use the leave the QR code up here, and I'm going to hand over to my very helpful colleague Adi to be able to actually continue the presentation. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak today. Follow me on Twitter @RoryPreddy.
Thank you, Rory. And without any further ado, I will hand on the presentation and the stage to Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. Give me 1 second. I am going to, share my screen with y'all. Okay. Can you all see my screen? No, not yet.
I'm going to
now
share
you can. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to show it on your behalf, and then you can see me and we can talk through it. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so you can't see me though, so you can see my screen. So
let's add you. Yes, let's add you. I'm going to need there you are, Rebecca. There you are, Rebecca, and we want to go add content from below, Rebecca's desktop, send live. It's a little dance we do here with Microsoft Teams, and we're going to send live, and there you are.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I work for an organization called TOM, stands for Tikuna Lawmakers. We are a global humanitarian venture committed to developing and delivering affordable open source assistive technology with local communities so anyone, anywhere can access solutions for their needs. We started in Israel in 2017. We now have a global maker network that's 70 communities strong. It exists in 27 countries with about over 5,000 volunteers. We've created over 500 open source solutions in different stages of development. And we've delivered over 100,000 products to people with need all over the world. Our moonshot goal is to deliver to affect the lives of 250 million people using these solutions. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how we do that. So to the left, you can see Noam Gez. He is an IDF veteran. He lost his arm in left arm in basic training. So we've got Noam. And in the center, we have Tanwi Boone. He's a quadruple amputee and father of 4. And he lost both his limbs to flesh-eating bacteria. And to the right, we have Yael. She is a Haredi or ultra-Orthodox young woman. And a classical violinist. She's from Petach Tikva, and she was born without her left arm. So all of these people here are examples of need knowers. And there are millions of people around the world just like these 3 that live with neglected challenges every day, and they don't have accessible or affordable solutions for their neglected challenges. Either because there's no affordable market-based solution or the government can't provide a solution, either because they can't allocate manpower, they don't have funding. Oftentimes, conditions can be rare. We work with people that have CP and various other disabilities, and a lot of times they need products that require a ton of customization. And so the one corner of the people we work with are people with disabilities, and the other corner are also any type of disempowered or disenfranchised population. So these could be people who lack some of the 4 billion people in the world that lack full coverage of essential health services, or 780 million people that don't have clean water, anything that we can develop a solution for. And
Rebecca,
we call these, yeah.
You sounded a little bit choked. You sound like a robot. So I would suggest maybe to turn off the headphones.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks.
Is this better?
Yes, it is.
Amazing. Okay. So these neglected challenges, and okay. So back to where we were. So our whole motto is that we use this theory of change, or this is our solution. So, and also leads into the question of kind of how do we scale to reach 250 million people. So we believe that by inspiring a user-centric design process, supporting a network of communities, and providing an open source platform, we can provide millions of people affordable, accessible solutions to their neglected challenges. So how exactly does this break down and work? So it starts off with our global community network. So we at TOM cultivate local volunteer-led innovation communities to develop these open source technology. And this is part of a over 5,000 strong maker network. These are professionals, these are hobbyists. They can be from the fields of crafting and DIY. Sometimes they're from the fields of disability and inclusion awareness. They can be engineers, healthcare professionals, industrial and product designers. We work with a lot of occupational therapists, physical therapists, as well as product managers, social workers, software developers like you all, and more. And so we take these individuals and we build strategic partners between them and oftentimes other local community institutions such as local corporations, healthcare facilities, rehab centers. In some cases, it's with local municipalities, consulates, and other forms of government, as well as maker spaces or local manufacturing centers, fab labs, schools, and also universities. So we have over 70 communities around the world. We're pushing very hard now to get STEM university students involved. We have about five university communities here in Israel. We have another 10 in the US, and we're hoping that by 2023, we have 25 globally. So what these communities do is they use our user-centered design process. So it starts off, we'll start at the left at the top. And the first aspect is identifying a challenge, right? So, and this allows them to, the need knowers and the makers work together. So we see Noam here, right? He's using a really rough prototype, one of our initial prototypes of the prosthesis. And so Noam came to us. He has a regular prosthesis during a regular, more advanced prosthesis that he wears out and about. But the issue is that when you get home, even though the technology for prostheses are rather advanced, they don't provide the comfort that you need, comfort or functionality that you need in the house. So just like when you get home and you take off your outdoor shoes or your boots or your high heels and you put on slippers, people with prosthetic arms also feel the same way. And so our team of makers met up with Noam in our Tom Tel Aviv community, and together they started to develop a first prototype of what is now called the PJ prosthesis. So these activities take place in, they can take place in 72-hour to mini makeathons. We have several academic coursework modules that exist at both elementary or day schools as well as at the university level. We have series of developer groups that we hold here in Israel and also in other places, some of our other communities around the world that meet on a weekly basis for a period of 13 weeks. And we also use focus groups for design feedback and user testing. So this is the first module that you see here. The design is 100% 3D printed. And so once we get this design, the initial design ready, we then go into the productizing and community design process. So in this stage, the models that we develop go through usability and makeability testing, and oftentimes reverse engineering to make sure that they can be made in a variety of different settings, because not all of the communities we have have as advanced technology, for example, as we do at our R&D hub here in Israel. And so we take these designs, continue working with our lead knowers to improve them. Once the productizing stage is done, we go into disseminating. And so during this entire process, we've been taking immaculate documentation of the entire process. And the end result is a digital product file. And with this, it gets uploaded to our website, which we'll get into in a minute. And this enables us to share these solutions with other people around the world who have similar problems. And so you download the file, you get into, we have a super easy instructions. There's a bill of materials. It sends you to, every single part that you need to have, and it gives you a step-by-step guide on how to make this product yourself. So the way that you access it is you get onto tomglobal.org, which is our open source platform. And just like you can see in the GIF here, you find the model you need, download the file, and it looks like something like this. One moment. Whoop. Here we go. So I'm going to show you all just the simple prosthesis, the back, and And with this, you see we've got the prosthesis here. It provides you an estimated cost based on where you are in the world. And this is the basic STL file that you will get. There's a ton of them. They depend on the different type of product. So for the prosthesis in general, we have a few different adaptations. It's a modular device platform, meaning that it can change based on a user's individual needs at a given time. So we have functions that allow you ease of use in the kitchen, for example, by connecting a knife to the end of the prosthesis. We have functions for
Rebecca, are you showing the website?
Yeah, it's not actually showing.
Oh, you can't see this.
Yeah, no, I don't feel too bad about it not showing on my presentation. It seems to be a delay there. So if you could just show it again.
Okay, 1 minute. Oh, it's not going to let me unless I stop sharing everything. 1 moment. Here, we'll just share my full desktop. Can you see my full desktop now?
I'm going to send it live now. And that's better. So now they can.
Okay, so what you missed is that I opened the downloaded product file, and in it you have a variety of STL files. The files differ depending on what type of product you're downloading. And so you can see here, this is the product file for the half of the base of the printed prosthesis. It gives you the estimated cost based on the area that you're located in. And this is basically what it looks like when you download, and makers can take this design, send it to their 3D printer, whichever form they're using. This one was originally created using an FDM printer, which are rather, they're more basic than some of the other versions, and you result in a drastically cheaper version of a prosthesis. So as you can see here, we've got our entire kind of lineup of our different prostheses, then the version and how they've gone through development. So we have the more basic modules. This is the first one that was created, and it uses a kind of like a bolt fitting in a way, where you can then screw on whichever type of the adaptations, that the modular adaptations that you need. And we've now moved into this one here at the end on the right, which has a curved input that basically, if it's like this, you can unscrew it, apply and stick in whichever type of the adaptation that you need, as well as pivot it and move it around. So using this process, we've taken the initial prosthesis that was created for NOM, and it was then picked up by our community in Singapore here. So you see this is Tanwi Boon, he's wearing the prosthesis, and it was adapted for him because since he's a double limb amputee, he needed a lightweight prosthesis that could get wet for bathroom use, toileting, etc. And they attached a special pull mechanism that allows a double amputee to then put on both of the prostheses by himself. So all of our designs give this new added level of independence that lets them live as normal, not normal, but as similar to people that have both of their limbs. And after that, the design was then picked up over here on the left by Yael. We had our community at Tom Shankar during their annual jam week, so to speak. It's an innovation week at the school, and they picked up this design. And Yael has been playing the violin since she was a little girl, and she needed a way for she had jerry-rigged actually a version of the prosthesis for herself, or a impromptu prosthesis for herself, and we redesigned the initial one to have a new violin application so that she can play just like anyone else. It's really, really neat. So because of this, and because we download them, everything is uploaded to our website. Any individual design can be replicated, customized, or iterated on more by any one of our communities or other makers around the world to meet whoever the needs are of the people that they're working with. So, we're missing a slide. So why is 3D printing so neat, and why is it really important for low resource or neglected resource communities? So it offers reduced production costs. Normal prostheses cost anywhere between $5,000 to $50,000, a price point which is often out of reach for most people. They simplify the supply chain, they simplify the delivery time, and everything can be made on one machine in one setting. And then minor modifications can be made throughout the entire process so that you can physically work with the person to get the product that they need at the end of the day. So in different types of situations, for example, with Yael, it's more of a neglected resource context. So here in Israel, she's 16 now, she just turned 16. But children and young adults that are under the age of 16, the government does not provide you any type of funding to get a prosthesis because they're growing. And so we can fill that gap. On the low resource side, you have Boone, and so because I already spoke about this, but because there's this price point, this low price point, we can now develop low-cost assistive technology to improve their quality of life and also decrease socioeconomic barriers to inclusion. So the end goal of our platform, and Tom at the end of the day, is that we can serve as this virtual makerspace where need knowers like Yael and Boone can easily find the product that they need. They can connect with a local maker to make sure they're properly measured, for example, for the prosthesis. It depends which design you're using. And then take these metrics, input them in our design module, and then send it off to a local maker with the capabilities to manufacture it. Now, our platform isn't quite there yet, but we're making a lot of progress and hoping to be able to use more parametric design modules in the future. So the next question is kind of how can you all help? What is your place in this? So we are always looking for people to make with us. We have tons of challenges that we get every day of people who need some form of solution. They are hardware-based challenges and also software-based challenges. We have a few actually right now that are super relevant to developers. So there's a project that we're working at with Beit Levenstein, which is a rehabilitation center here in Israel. And this was a project that was actually started in 2017 at Tom Tel Aviv, and they're working to gamify rehab exercises. And so basically things that are seen as normal chores can then be turned into a game to make the rehab process a little bit easier on the person who's going through rehab, as well as the therapist, and making it more fun. And all of the metrics can then, we're hoping that with a solution that we can create, that all of the metrics and the progress that the person will go through and have maybe with range of motion of their, let's for example say an arm range of motion, and will be able to, by having a software component, we'll be able to measure that range of motion over time and track their progress. So that's one of the challenges we're working on. There's another one we got, which a father submitted on behalf of his child. He's a little girl, and she's constantly attached to a infusion device, and he's looking for someone to help him develop some type of robot that will follow her. She's crawling, she's an infant. And So to follow her and kind of carry around the infusion device with her. And so that's one of the other challenges we're working on. And a third one, we have Giora. It's a wounded veteran from the Yom Kippur War. He's 69 years old, and he suffers from a multi-systemic spine injury. And he has trouble with basic everyday tasks such as showering, eating, dressing, and more. And we are looking for makers to help us build a bionic exoskeleton arm for him to support his right hand and increase functioning range. So that's kind of the first step of how people can get involved. The second step is share your ideas with us. If you're a maker or maybe you work with a different maker group, for example, I know that Microsoft has makeathons, and you've developed products that can help people around the world with neglected challenges, share your products with us. We'd love to have them on our website so that our community members across the world can have access to them and then provide them and help iterate and customize them for people in need. The next step is starting your own TOM community. Maybe this is at Microsoft, maybe it's in your university. We have a new TOM Fellows program that's starting this year. It's in its second year, and what it does is gives university students an opportunity to lead in their local community and help develop products for people within the university community and in the surrounding area. And it also follows a line with, there's also academic coursework and community events that come with it. They're virtual now, and it's been an interesting project to kind of incorporate our once person-to-person events to make them virtual, and we've been very successful in holding virtual events over the past, since COVID started over the past 6 months. Another option is to hold a global innovation challenge. So this means we can help you find people in your area, and you can start a design process with them and gamify a little bit, compete with each other, see who can do it faster, and who can come up with the best design. So we have events like this all the time, and if you're thinking of starting one, contact us. So the next way, and this is more Microsoft oriented, form a strategic partnership with us. I know that Microsoft, for example, has tons of customization and AI capabilities, and we'd love to have you use them for social good in collaboration with us. We are constantly looking for ways to incorporate a parametric design module into our website. It'll be a big step for us if someone can just log on to Tom, input their own metrics, and send their product out to be made within days. So that's that. If you have any questions, please let me know. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Just a second. Rory, can you please share the slides? So thank you, Rebecca.
Yes,
and
doing that now.
And Rory, that was truly inspiring. And I welcome everyone to share their questions on the chat right now. If they have any for Rory or for Rebecca.
I think someone else is sharing, so
I am.
Okay.
But I don't want to.
We'll fight over it.
Yeah.
So if I need to share the slides, if you can stop sharing on your side, just go to the stop sharing there. There's a little button on your bottom right-hand side. Yeah.
No, I do not have it. and I am terrified to.
No, don't go leave. Don't ever click leave.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, that's completely fine until we will figure it out. So, so Microsoft mission is deeply diverse and inclusive. Our mission statement is empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And we have some resources to share with you about how you can create inclusive environment where all people will feel valued and how to design inclusive. So I welcome you to explore and learn about those resources. Some of them Rory already shared within his presentation. Let's have a last try. Maybe Rebecca, can you try to see how can
I'm managing. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to go find the slide. The inclusive material from. You should be able to see it. Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
Okay, so let's just see. Send live. Let's try again. Sending live. No, it doesn't. It doesn't like your slides, Rebecca. So okay, so Rebecca, if you can actually send it, I can't override you. And that was an excellent talk. I didn't realize your talk would be so competitive with mine. I thought mine was going to be the talk of note, but yours was excellent.
Okay, I'm going to try one more time. Oops. Okay, hold on. Stop. I'm clicking stop sharing.
Okay.
And nothing is happening.
Okay. Well, maybe if you can just talk through Adi.
Yes, I can. So we have 3 main resources where you can gather information about inclusive and also about diversity. So we have the website for Microsoft Design Inclusive, where this website is contain inclusive design methodologies, toolkits, and articles. We have also a portal, Microsoft Diversity and Inclusive portal, where you can learn what we do inside and also beyond Microsoft to advance diversity and inclusive. And we also have a program called the AI for Good. This program is designed by Microsoft for startups and tech for good to scale social startups and provide them with the leading mentors, speakers, and partners and support their growth. So I hope I don't see any messages right now in the Q&A. So I hope that all of you learned from this session, and I truly want to thank Rebecca and Roy for your great presentation today and inspiring that provide us tools. And I wish all of you to join. Thank you very much, and have a great week ahead and year. So thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in the next meeting. Also, we will send you shortly on the chat and survey that we will appreciate if you can fill. So we will improve and learn for the next time. So thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much, Rebecca, Mariah, and Adi. I really had a great time, and incredible presentation, Rebecca. Thanks, everyone.
Same. It was very factual and interesting, and looking forward to working with y'all in the future.
Thanks.